president and general manager now to talk about.
Do this so I'm not off screen.
Please raise your hand and we'll call on you, and we'll have John start off the opening statement. Talk about everything. Go ahead, John.
Move this up. That better? Am I on? Good. Good morning, everybody. As you are aware now, I'm sure I'm here to discuss what is an exciting day for LAFC with the finalization of a move for Diego Rossi to Fenerbahce in Turkey and who also qualified for Europa League. You know, for us, this is an exciting day for LAFC. It's the fulfillment of a plan and a vision that's been in place from day one, which was to identify young talent, develop that young talent, and move them on in a way that is beneficial for both the player and the club. And it's not lost on us that Diego was the first player that was a part of that vision, the very first young designated player we signed with this exact plan in mind. So it is the execution of that vision that is exciting for us for a few reasons. First, it shows that that plan is working, that we have now moved a player to a top-level team in Europe, and it's a move that the player is excited about. And for us, we were able to do it in a way that's beneficial for the club and for the player. Diego is going to Fenerbahce on an initial loan period that we believe will become permanent. And for us, Diego is the first, and we hope that he paves the way for our other young players that are already here and the ones that will come. Importantly, this move opens up a designated player spot for LAFC for the first time in quite some time, and also gives us resources to use in that designated player spot to improve the team. And as our supporters and everybody should know, everything we do is with the intent of improving our team and making our team better in any way we can. And this move, you know, while losing Diego will require others to step up, we are confident with the group we have. The window is now closing in Europe, and unless something crazy happens, we believe we will be keeping the rest of that core intact, and we believe they will help us make a strong push through the latter part of the season. With that, I will open up to questions. Is that right, Seth?
Yes, go ahead, Tom Bogert. Ask the first question there.
Thanks, Seth. Thanks for taking the time, John. Two questions here, if you don't mind. First of all, is there any annoyance that, can you hear me?
Can someone turn this up? Sorry, Tom, I can't hear. Let me turn this up. Can you repeat that, please, Tom?
Yeah. Two questions, if you'll indulge. The first one being, is there any sense of frustration or annoyance that the transfer windows aren't aligned, so that there's no way for you guys to replace Rossi on the outside of free agents, but there's no real way for you, or no full way for you guys to replace him on the roster? And two, can you just, kind of take us through how this deal with Fenerbahce came about and why this was the right timing and the right move?
Yes, great questions, and apologies, the wonders of these Zoom press conferences that I hope will be in our past at some point soon. Yes, great questions. First of all, yes, of course, it's frustrating with the timing, not just with our windows not aligning, that we cannot now utilize this spot in the immediate term unless it is for a free agent. So yes, certainly that is frustrating and outside of our control. The second part of your question, which is also in terms of timing, this is not ideal timing. I could certainly recognize that, but similar to our windows not aligning, et cetera, there are some factors that are outside of our control. One, as it pertains to timing, you look at this transfer market this summer, and it's still incredibly stagnant and depressed, which also brings its frustrations. And so for us, we couldn't choose the timing. I think, in actual fact, if you'd have predicted when this move would have happened, I wouldn't even have talked about when our window was still open in August. I'd have been talking about a year ago. So a lot of these things are outside of our control, and we do our best to pivot accordingly, which we have done. And so for us, timing is less than ideal. However, some of these factors are outside of our control. We pivot accordingly.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. John Rojas, go ahead.
Thanks, Seth. And John, thanks for the time. I don't need the specifics, but I'm curious, does the loan require a fee from Fenerbahce? And second, is there any performance elements that will trigger an obligation to buy his rights?
Great questions. I think that probably crosses the line in getting specifics that I can't air publicly. What I can say in general terms is that this is a deal that our ownership group is comfortable with in the short, medium, and long term. And I think what is exciting for the club in that regard is the resources that this will generate in order to improve the team with the now open designated player spot.
All right, thank you. John, did you have another one? Are you good?
I mean, so if I can, John,
Yeah.
If you may, I would love you having a little bit of in Spanish, talking what, Diego's leaving means for the club and the transaction in general.
Putting me on
Thank
the spot
you.
with my Spanish.
I mean, it's up to you.
No hay problema. Sí, obviamente para nosotros estamos aquí para anunciar ahora este préstamo por Diego Rossi a Fenerbahce. Y para nosotros es un día que debemos celebrar como equipo, como club, porque este es el último paso en un proceso que empezó cuando firmamos a Diego en 2017. Y él fue el primer jugador que identificamos para que pueda desarrollar aquí en el LAFC, que podemos mover en una manera que es positivo para el LAFC y también para el jugador. Y entonces para nosotros es difícil perder un jugador como Diego, pero tenemos confianza en el grupo que tenemos. El mercado en Europa ya está cerrando y entonces me sorprende si hay algo que va a pasar, que otro jugador que va a salir. Entonces con el grupo que tenemos confianza que aunque no estamos donde queremos estar, tenemos confianza en el grupo que vamos a terminar esta temporada fuertemente. Y también es muy importante para reconocer que la salida de Diego abre el espacio para un DP y también nos da los recursos que necesitamos para mejorar el equipo. Y estas conversaciones ya empezamos y el proceso ya continúa en identificar el próximo DP para el LAFC.
Fantástico, John. Muchas gracias.
De nada.
All right, thank you. Daniel Schwartzman, go ahead.
Thank you. John, también te voy a pedir si puedes hablar en español porque veo que es muy, muy bueno. Durante el All-Star Game declaraba Carlos Vela que le gustaría regresar a Europa. Ahora sin Diego Rossi, con Carlos lesionado y con esas declaraciones, ¿puedes darnos algún estatus, algún update sobre la situación de Carlos, su futuro?
Sí, claro. Bueno, la situación de Carlos es que está lesionado, tiene un problema con el músculo que necesitamos ver cada día dónde está. Obviamente no es una cuestión de días, pero semana, 2 semanas, no sé. Y nosotros queremos que Carlos pueda regresar tan pronto como sea posible, pero que tenemos la seguridad de que cuando regrese él puede continuar para darnos lo que puede. Carlos es un jugador muy importante para nosotros y espero que estamos en una posición con él que puede regresar, y él está trabajando duramente para regresar, pero no sabemos ya cuándo él va a estar listo.
All right, great. Thank you. Let's go, Alicia Rodriguez.
Thank you. John, thanks for your time today. I wanted to ask about Diego's move and what he wanted in this. Was he looking to get to Europe soon? Was he kind of going along for the ride? Like what was his approach in getting this deal done and his wishes?
Yeah, Diego, it was no secret. And this dates back to the first conversation Bob and I had with Diego in a hotel room in Uruguay in 2017. Diego's always had the ambition, as many of our young players do, to come to LAFC, and if the opportunity presented itself and the right opportunity presented itself, to go to Europe. It's no secret that there has been a lot of interest in Diego over the years. I think what paused the process was COVID. And again, COVID was the black swan that nobody could prepare for, and we had to adjust accordingly. But Diego's always been interested and had the ambition to go to Europe, and that's something we welcomed, and we worked together for this move. So Diego is excited about the move. It is something that he definitely wanted and endorsed, and we understood. And now he's going to a club that's going to be playing in Europa League, and we wish him all the best. And he's been such a huge part of our history, and I think we will all be watching with excitement what he can now do in Europe, in the hopes of him paving a trail for the next one, the next group of players that we hope will be moving to Europe.
All right, thanks. We'll have Gio. Go ahead, Gio.
Hey, John, congrats on the move, and your Spanish is phenomenal. I think you should definitely speak a lot more. I have two questions. I know you just spoke about Carlos Vela in Spanish, but can you speak it in English? Because he did go on TV and said he wants to go back to Europe. So what is your thought process on bringing Carlos Vela back, and what does it look like?
Yeah, I don't think that's quite what he said. I believe what he said is he understands the stage of career he's at. He's open to seeing what's out there, et cetera. So I didn't read it as quite the statement that it sounds like others have. I think he was on and asked a question as to what's in his future, and the question was answered sort of, we'll see. Going back to what I said in Spanish about Carlos, I was simply referring to his injury, which is a soft tissue muscle injury, which was a recurrence of the injury he had against Austin the first game of the season, and he didn't ever quite overcome it fully. And so it was a setback that's disappointing for Carlos, disappointing for LAFC. And as with any soft tissue injury, you wait and see how it recovers, and there's no exact timeline to that. It's not a matter of days. It's going to be a matter of weeks, and he's working hard to get back as soon as safely possible. And the idea there is just that we work, and that when Carlos is back, he is fully back, and he's not putting himself in harm's way as he returns.
All right. Thank you very much. I'll take one last question here. Humberto, go ahead, Humberto.
Hola, John. Una pregunta. ¿Me escucha?
Sí.
Sí. Oh, John, una pregunta. Carlos Vela siempre ha querido o ha tratado de traer a su compañero, que es su amigo también, Anthony Griezmann, que acaba de salir del Barcelona. ¿Se abre la posibilidad para que este jugador pueda venir a reforzar al LAFC ahora que está el movimiento allá en España?
Bueno, sí, obviamente es un muy buen jugador, y ahora que tenemos el espacio libre hay muchas posibilidades que estamos considerando. Por corto plazo él no es una posibilidad porque nuestra ventana ha cerrado y él todavía tiene contrato, pero no quiero hablar específicamente de un jugador que está contratado con otro equipo, pero lo que puedo decir es que estamos en conversaciones con mucha gente sobre la posibilidad sobre las posibilidades del próximo DP de LAFC.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, John, and we'll have Bob Bradley here shortly. Stand by. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
Want to go ahead and get started? Go ahead.
Good afternoon. I know that John spoke about the situation with Diego. From my perspective, as John mentioned, a young player that came here with the goal of improving, contributing, and then potentially moving to a club in Europe. And I've enjoyed working with Diego. I've seen a lot of progress. He's been a really important part of everything that's happened at LAFC since he scored the first goal against Seattle in the very first game. The timing of a summer window in MLS is difficult. It's difficult when you lose players in the middle of a season or even after the middle of the season. And even in terms of adding players, the timing in the summer when players arrive late, haven't in some cases been doing things is difficult. So that's just something that is part of the situation. Timing not perfect, but in all other ways, we wish Diego the best.
All right, let's get started here with Katya. Go ahead, Katya.
Thanks, Seth. Hi, Bob. I know you mentioned timing. It's always difficult, but how not having Diego plus Carlos' injury, a positive, I guess, is what we saw from Brian during El Tráfico, but how will that look moving forward, especially in the situation the team is at right now?
It's a challenge. Let's be clear. For whatever reason, in some cases, injuries or players that now are thinking about the next move. I think we would say that we've not been at our best in the attack all year. It's something that I've talked about over and over. We still create many chances. It was nice to see us scored 3 goals the other day, and it was really important to see Brian contribute the way that he did. And so in the short run, Brian is away on international duty. So for Friday's game, we call on others. I think that Chicho in the early days here is showing that he's capable of being an important player for us. And then there are others that will get opportunities. And then as we go through the rest of the season, Brian coming back, our ability to keep pushing others along and trust that the work that gets done, the chances that we create will pay off.
And just one more with the open spot in DP. Historically in MLS, the investment always goes to attacking players. Would you like to see like another position for LAFC at some point, and another DP spot, not always an attacking player?
That's a discussion for the end of the season. I think if you look at the team that we built in 2018 and how it carried into 2019 and 2020, it would be normal that after 4 seasons that now there's a lot of different things that need to be thought through. Certainly in the first 3 seasons, we were a team that scored a lot of goals. This year, when you look at everything, the overall attacking ideas and advantages and chances are still quite good, but for whatever reason, we just haven't been a team that scores in the same way. And so how we look at all these details, how we continue to evolve, how other guys improve, these are all the things that obviously you weigh as you finish one season and start discussing potential moves for the next year.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Josh Gross, go ahead.
Hey, Bob. Just want to follow up quickly on answer you gave to Katya. On Diego, do you think that the move to Europe weighed on him and affected his performance at all? Was that something that you were alluding to?
I certainly think that, and I know John mentioned the timing of everything, which included COVID. So there's the part that maybe in an ideal world, some players would have moved on earlier. And the longer it goes and the more they feel like the opportunity for them is getting away, then in some cases their pure ability to be as sharp and concentrated on things here, it's not as high. And we've seen that in different cases. And, part of my job is to find really good ways to challenge guys, help them understand that, look, in football, there's no telling how many more games we all have together. But you know what? We've done some really great things, and let's take advantage of each day in training and each next game and continue to push it along. But I do think that at some level with certain guys, there's been moments this year where they have had other things on their mind and haven't been as completely engaged. And so I've had a lot of discussions with a lot of guys this year about those things, and getting everybody to be alive in the most important time of the year is still really important.
So, thank you. So for the group that is there now, they know this is the group of players through the rest of the 13 games. The roster's there. Diego's not going to be around. Who first of all, how has the response been in terms of people stepping up now and getting opportunities they may not have had before? And what are your expectations of the players you have on the roster? Who do you see stepping up and filling in?
Well, certainly we're, as I mentioned earlier, excited to see Brian step up. I thought he had a good game in Vancouver and then turned that into a 2-goal game versus the Galaxy. I think that Chicho has caught on quickly to the things that we try to do. And so that part's good. I think that in different ways, Sifu this year, especially in moments going forward, has been a really good attacker. And then, you wait to see now in this next period, can Danny Musovski be a little bit more consistent? Where is Cal Jennings? How about Bryce Duke? Raheem Edwards has had moments, flashes of good things. So consistency with some of these guys with opportunities will be probably the key.
Thank you, Josh. Tom Bogert, go ahead.
Thanks for taking the time, Bob. I want to see if you could clue us into, I guess, some of the conversations you had with Diego as this move became apparent and something that was going to happen. And how do you see him fitting in at Fenerbahce?
Throughout the process, most of the conversations that I had with Diego were along the lines of what I mentioned a few minutes ago, that from the day he arrived, I supported him with the idea that someday he would go, and that the job was to push him and challenge him and help him get better. And that I always feel like the two of us had a really good working relationship, and I continued to be really proud of him. And then I would follow that up by saying that the one thing in football that you don't control is timing. And so while you're here, we need you to continue to push yourself. You've been too important to let it slide a little bit at the end. When the move was finally made, yes, then we had a personal discussion that I'm not going to share, just about our time together and a few thoughts about things that I think he needs to continue to work on when he gets there. Fenerbahce is a big club and it's a big opportunity. So we're excited to see how he continues to grow.
Thank you, Tom. John Rojas, go ahead.
Thanks, Seth, and Bob, thanks for the time. I'm curious, the close relationship that Diego and Brian are having since they're growing up together, and Diego's mom helping Brian and all that. Do you have the chance to talk to Brian before he left about Diego's move? Because it looks like in some ways, the stepping up process that you're seeing in Brian, it may be seen from outside that is affected in a good way with Diego's approach, and Brian is now in Uruguay, and he looks like he's going to be a starter too this week for Uruguay. So I'm curious to see that is like the legacy that Diego left to is a more motivated and ready Brian.
We hope so, John, but those are things that you need time to assess. From the beginning when Brian got here, I think Diego tried to be a good example. They're close, but you're a little bit off. They're not great. They're not like great friends. But certainly Brian always respected the way Diego went about things. They're different people, different personalities. And the thing that I've mentioned of late is that I believe Brian has probably been more open in this last period to seeing little things that he needs to do better, working a little bit more in training, working closely with Ante between video and some things on the field. And I think that you can see that he's motivated now, and you know, perhaps the experience at Almeria, which didn't go the way he hoped. Maybe there's things like that. Brian's still young, and these are things that when a young player experiences moments that don't go perfect, then sometimes that becomes a spark to help them get better.
All right, thank you. Last question here for Bob Rodrigo Serrano. Go ahead.
Hey Bob, how are you? Thank you for your time. Why has it been so difficult to find like players on the offense, especially from the 2019 season that we saw great at LAFC, especially with Dio leaving? It's like feels like it's been hard to find that a complement for Carlos and at the time Diego.
I wouldn't agree exactly. You know, when Brian first came in, there were some good days where Carlos played more as a 9 and then scored some goals, finished the season off in a strong way. Of course, when we lose to Seattle, it's a day where in certain moments, attacking wise, we could have been better. You know, Dio spent a good part of that last season, or that 2019 season, away with some personal issues. He did come on in the Seattle game, and actually we had a really good action going forward where Diego played a ball and it was just a little bit behind Dio to get us back with a goal at that point. Last year, there was certainly a period at MLS's back where I thought the combination of Brian and Bradley Wright Phillips and Diego was quite good. But Brad also had some different things last year on a personal level. So as we got to the end of the season, Brad was not at his best. And now as we started this season, Carlos went out after 20 minutes. And so I think we've had a lot of twists and turns. With it all, we still create a lot of chances. And so, you know, the ability to get, if you look at everything this year, in the games that he has played, Carlos has still had a lot of chances. Diego still has had a lot of chances. Chicho, since he's arrived, has had a lot of chances. So that still tells me that the overall way that we go about things makes sense. And now it's just about finding a little bit more consistency and getting our best guys up to top level in more and more games.
All right, thank you. Okay, here's the very last question. Sorry, one last one. Ali Trost, go ahead, Ali.
Hey, Coach, just looking ahead to this Friday, you guys have seen Sporting Kansas City a couple of times. Just what did you learn from those past meetings going into this game on Friday?
They're a very good team. We had two completely different games in Kansas City. I thought we played well, had good control on the game. Tristan got red carded, and then we didn't manage the end of the game in a good way. The game here, they took advantage of a couple plays. We made some mistakes and found ourselves down. We tried from really the start of the second half to push for chances. They still got the next goal. We scored, created many chances. It's a game where we put ourselves so far behind on a couple of plays that the only chance to get back was when we started the second half that we got the first goal. And when it got to 4, yeah, we added a goal for the flag, but that wasn't enough. So they're a very good team. They're good going forward in transition. In both games, I think they've been tactical matches. I think they've been matches where teams create chances, test the other team, and I think we'll see another game like that on Friday.
And then just last thing on that, when looking at that last game, their wing backs were involved in 3 of those 4 goals, just in shutting those players down and not letting the wings be so dangerous. Just kind of what's been the focus there, if at all.
Yes, but you have to look at each one of those goals. The very first one, we played a pass. Tristan played a pass forward to Moon coming inside, and they got tight. And when the ball came loose, our reactions were poor. Edward ended up running past the play. And then as the ball went out on the left, Sifu and Moon, as they were recovering into the box, didn't deal well enough with the ball that got cut back. So it's not just about wingbacks coming in the regular run of the game. It's about situations that get created in different ways. And like I said, it was, again, the first goal in that game was just a long ball that got headed, and then they put it up the field, and they were able to turn that into a situation where Thomas came out and we didn't deal with it well. I think the goal I just mentioned was the second goal. The fourth goal, yes, that would be something that you do deal with them, because as they go forward wide, the position that Graham comes into, not so forward so much, but almost in that inside space where if it comes back to him, he can cross. Kinder got into the space between Fall and Moon. And I think Fall, who came on that day and did really well and has played well since, I think he just didn't do a good enough job of recognizing that Kinder was dropping behind off his shoulder and dealing with the header. So, those are all completely different moments.
Thanks for the time.
Right. Thank you, Ellie, and thank you, Bob. And we'll be joined by a few LAFC players here shortly. Stand by. Everybody, thank you. We are joined by LAFC defender Tristan Blackman, who I believe is now the second longest tenured LAFC player. But we'll go ahead and Tristan, just kind of want to get your thoughts. Obviously, kind of a crazy week with Diego, who's been here leaving, and now gearing up to play Sporting KC. So if you could just kind of talk a little bit about the mentality that you've seen around the group here this week.
Oh, yeah. First off, Diego is a massive part of our history, and it's important for players that do well, to try to move on to different teams. And when they're getting looks, it's good for, the team to get exposure. And yeah, no, we're all really happy for Diego, first and foremost. But yeah, going into this week, players are going to need to step up with certain guys gone. The mentality's been good, training's been good. Guys are looking forward to a good match again against Sporting this weekend or on Friday. So no, yeah, it's been a good week of training, and like I said, looking forward to that match.
All right, great. Katya, go ahead.
Hey, Tristan. Timing wise, I know it's complicated, but how to go about it with Diego gone, Carlos injured, and just the situation that you guys are in right now to try to close the season strong and find those results?
Yeah, no, obviously guys are missing. And like you said, Diego has just, departed. So yeah, guys are going to need to step up. It's a moment where, different guys in different positions are going to need to propel themselves into, starting 11 that maybe haven't been there before. And yeah, it's a time where we really need to, stay together as a group and hone in on, like you said, finishing this year very strong on a good note. And this next stretch is really important for us.
What did you guys learn from the previous meeting you guys had with Sporting KC? It was a tough one, but now what do you have to change? And the fact that some guys are also away on international duty, it will definitely be a challenge.
Oh yeah, they're a really good team. This year they've been playing really well, good football. It's always an intense match against them. So it's at the bank. The fans are going to be behind us, and we need to be focused in every moment of the game. We play good football here, and there's stretches where you see that, and you see the life and everybody, together playing a certain way. It's a certain feeling you get when you see that on the pitch. And then there's moments where, some things get away from us, and we're trying to limit that as much as possible. And like I said, being together, focusing on those little things, defending as a unit, the way we counter press, all these little details are important going into this match. So.
Have you seen something different in terms of the attitude in the group after the rivalry and the intensity that you guys showed, the fact that you guys were able to finally score 3 goals in a game? Did something change this week? Do you see the team with a different energy in that sense?
Yeah, no, obviously coming off of a big match against the Galaxy, we were disappointed with the result, of course. Still not, how to win in some time, but it gave us a feeling, we have that in us to battle out games and play our football and, push the tempo of games. So no, this week has been good training. Like I said, certain guys are stepping up. I'm going to have to in this next stretch, but it's been important for us to focus on the little details going into this game against Kansas City.
All right, great. Thank you. Josh Gross, go ahead.
Hey, Tristan, what's the approach over the next 13 matches? You look at each one individually, or do you say, we need this certain number of points to have a shot to get that 7th seed? What's the thinking, and what has Bob expressed to you in terms of what the goal is over the next 13 matches?
Yeah, it's match by match. Not looking to look forward ahead at all. It's what's in front of us at hand and how do we handle that situation. So I think right now we're focused obviously on the game on Friday. And no, we're going to take, it's each moment of every game. Like I said, you can't look ahead. Each match is, very important for us in this final stretch. And yeah, I think, like I said, we're focused on the task at hand, and we have to finish that before looking towards anything else.
And you mentioned the disappointment against the Galaxy that came on a late goal, and the team's definitely let in late goals to cost themselves points over the course of the season. Is there a trend in that, or is that just the way the ball bounces? Why does that keep happening, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it could be a culmination of things. I think maybe we're not tuned in enough. We're not focusing those specific moments. Maybe a couple guys don't realize the situation and react a certain way, but yeah, we work on that in training too. We're trying to get better at the working on emergency moments and how we collectively defend and all these sorts of things. So no, it's definitely a point of emphasis for sure this week and in this last stretch towards the end of the year to make sure that we can close out games.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and thank you. We got a last question here for Tristan, go ahead, Josue Lopez.
Thank you, Seth. Yeah, continuing on last question regarding the late goals, what kind of conversations are there in the group in that regard? Is this something about concentration? Is something tactical? What kind of talks do you have in the group in that sense?
Oh yeah, a lot of it's, I mean, it's a culmination, like I said before, but it is concentration, 100%. It's, can you be tuned in for the full 90 plus minutes? And we showed, you know, in certain moments that we haven't been, and that's why we can give up late goals. But like I said, this week, and definitely going into the rest of the stretch, it's definitely been a conversation, handling certain moments and late in matches, body position, the way we read plays, all of this stuff we were talking about, and we're looking to make efforts to right those things. So.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Tristan. Appreciate it. And we'll have, I believe, Jesus Maria will be here shortly. here by LAFC All-Star, Jesus Murillo, and we'll get started. Just opening statement here for Jesus. Go ahead, Alonso.
Jesús, si nos puedes dar un poco de tu opinión, cómo se han venido preparando para este partido contra Kansas, dado a tener bastantes jugadores con selección.
Creo que hemos venido haciendo las cosas de la mejor manera, por ahí tratando de acomodar los compañeros que van a tener la oportunidad. Sabemos que son muchos los que se fueron y tenemos varios lesionados, entonces se ha venido trabajando de la mejor manera con jugadores que piensa poner el profe. Sabemos el partido tan importante que se viene, entonces hemos trabajado en base a eso.
Yeah, no, it's a very important match that we have ahead of us against Kansas City. You know, we've been working the best way possible, considering that we have four guys with national teams, 4 World Cup qualifiers, and an additional 2 with friendlies, and then you know, our list of injured players. But we've been working the best way possible with who's still here, and working our best way to fulfill our goals with what Bob instructs us.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, Katia.
Mori, gusto saludarte. ¿Cuál es el reto principal de encarar este partido? ¿Qué aprendieron de la última vez que se enfrentaron a Kansas, pero sobre todo evaluando la situación actual de las ausencias que tiene el equipo?
Hola, ¿cómo estás? Sí, somos conscientes de la situación que estamos pasando. Eso es lo bueno del fútbol, que te da revancha. Ahora viene una nueva oportunidad donde toca afrontarla con la mayor responsabilidad del mundo. Sabemos que el objetivo es entrar a los playoffs. Esto es una oportunidad nueva. El partido que pasó nos deja enseñanza que no podemos descuidarnos, que toca aprovechar las opciones que tengamos, y creo que va a ser fundamental en el partido del viernes.
Yeah, no, we're conscious of our situation. And, you know, that's the beautiful thing about football, is that it gives you a second opportunity to redeem yourselves. Our goal is definitely to get into playoffs, and our last time facing Kansas, we saw that we cannot let our guard down and not give up the opportunity to finish chances.
¿Cómo tomaron en el grupo la partida de Diego? ¿Cómo fue la despedida?
Primero que todo, muy feliz por él. Sabíamos que estaba buscando una oportunidad de esa, que se ha trabajado de la mejor manera para seguir creciendo como futbolista, como persona. Todo el grupo contento, sabiendo igual que va a hacer mucha falta, pero son los sueños, es lo que él ha venido trabajando día a día, año tras año, por llegar a una gran liga como a la que se fue. Entonces somos conscientes que nos va a hacer falta, pero hay jugadores que vienen trabajando de la mejor manera para asumir el rol.
You know, we're extremely happy for Diego, first and foremost, you know, given that he's been searching for an opportunity as such, to grow not only as a player, but also as a person. He will definitely be missed by us on and off the pitch. We know that there is a big gap to fill with his absence, but that's why we're all here, and we have to assume the role and become leaders and fill in those gaps as those who remain here.
Y una última, ¿qué les dejó el partido pasado en cuanto a esa chispa de una rivalidad? Entiendo que quedó un poco de frustración que se escaparon al final los 3 puntos, pero el tema de la actitud que mostró el equipo y que pudieron convertir además las oportunidades.
Sí, por ahí queda el sabor amargo, porque sabíamos que habíamos hecho muchas cosas buenas y al final se nos escapa, pero sabemos que cada vez nos vamos encontrando, cada vez estamos mejor, le damos mucha oportunidad y ya tuvimos la oportunidad de meter 3, ahora es apostar en la parte defensiva y poder comenzar a sumar de a tres, que es lo que se quiere.
Yeah, no, definitely. From the last match against Galaxy, it's a bitter, sweet feeling because we felt like we had done many things correctly. However, we missed an opportunity on 3 points at the end of the match. But I feel like we're finding ourselves better each game. We got to the point where we scored 3 goals, and now we just must adjust at the back end and continue pushing forward.
Okay, thank you. Last question. Josue, go ahead, Josue Lopez.
Thank you, Seth. ¿Qué tal, Jesús? Muy buenas tardes, qué gusto saludarte. Con respecto a lo que últimamente ha estado pasando de recibir goles a minutos finales, ¿qué tipo de conversaciones han tenido en el grupo? ¿Es algo de concentración, una cuestión táctica? ¿Qué es lo que se habla entre ustedes internamente?
Sí, por ahí uno como defensor y toda la defensa estamos frustrados porque por ahí creo que falta concentración de nosotros, porque somos los responsables de brindar seguridad en esos minutos, pero igual somos un equipo que siempre queremos ir adelante, que siempre queremos ir a buscar la victoria. Lastimosamente no nos ha dado como queremos, pero es de trabajar, saber que si toca ganar por un gol, toca ganar por un gol, que hay que cuidar lo que tenemos y sí, se ha venido hablando, se ha venido trabajando en la semana y esperemos de resultado el día viernes.
Yeah, you know, as a defender, it's definitely frustrating, given that we're part of the defensive line and we're supposed to lock down and secure those distances when we score, and especially closer to the end of the match. Sorry, unfortunately, results haven't gone our way, but we must focus on protecting our scoreline when we score. Make sure not to give up goals, but we've been working on, obviously, something that we're aware of, so something that we're definitely working towards.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Murray, and thank you everyone for joining us. We will be sending out a recording of this shortly, and let us know if you have any questions. Thank you.